Hello and welcome back to the Metal Tech Alley Show. We are focused on clusters of innovators, leaders, and experts who are driving new technologies and products in advanced materials, metallurgical, and technology sectors right here in Trail, British Columbia. I'm Terry Van Horn, your host, and on this episode we were at the 44th Engineer Squadron, and we'll be demonstrating the vital role the squadron, the volunteers and staff play in our community and our country. And we will meet a few of the past and present highly skilled professionals that are integrating what they learn in the Corps with everyday life here in Trail. Up first, we would like to introduce you to our new commander, Major Nils French, who has recently located to our region where he has found a balance between his work, life, and his military service right here in Trail, British Columbia.
The family, the get the job done attitude no matter what.
If you can improvise well and you can think on your feet, the engineers is the perfect trade for you.
It's not one person, it's really people pulling together.
Lifting heavy things and putting them down with your best friends is probably the best camaraderie you can ever have. And you're in the rain, you're in the weather, you're in the cold, all together.
The 44th Engineer Squadron is a reserve organization. So for the most part, our personnel are part-time. And we do have a small number, varies a bit from time to time, but 3 to 4 full-time personnel, including one individual who's here who is an actual regular force full-time member. So we have reserve personnel on full-time contracts. We do have a regular force member who is a full-time military member here as well, but by and large, I would say about 80% of the organization is part-time. So they have civilian careers, some are students, some are small business owners, but they have what you would essentially call a day job, and then they do their reserve service, evenings, weekends, summers. It's very flexible, whenever their schedule permits. We train through the September to May timeframe on Thursday evenings here at the armories from 7 to 10 p.m. every week. That sometimes involves classroom training, hands-on training, maintenance of the many pieces of equipment and vehicles that we have here, cleaning equipment, preparing equipment for exercises. There's administration that goes on. It's kind of a buzz of activity here on Thursday evenings. In addition to that, there are weekend exercises. Sometimes it's just the Sunday, Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes it's a little longer, starting on maybe a late Thursday night. At times that'll be in the area here in Trail. Other times it will be in the Chilliwack area or other locations in the Lower Mainland. We have some very good facilities there. And it could be working with explosives, it could be building bridges, it could be working with heavy equipment, doing rope work. There's a lot of different things that engineers do, and getting out there and exercising is when we really get to practice those skills. So it's those evenings, those weekends, and then there's also longer exercises from time to time. One of the big ones being between Christmas and New Year's. This is an exercise called Paladin Response that we've been doing for more than 30 years now under varying names, but it's all about bridging, rafting, working with small boats, and it's the kinds of skills that we need to be prepared for a domestic, a natural disaster of some kind, whether it be fires, floods, or some kind of a seismic event. That is a longer exercise, but it's another one of the possibilities. One of the facilities that we have here at the Kemble Armory and Trail is what's called a small arms trainer, or a SAT range. And it is here in the building. It is an indoor facility, all-weather facility, and it has a digital kind of screen display, and it uses, I guess, simulated or electronic firearms that operate off air pressure instead of live munitions. And it uses a laser system to ensure that a soldier is using the firearm correctly. It essentially operates in the same way that a real live weapon system would operate, but it's a lot more flexible in use and gives a lot more data and feedback as well, so that we can hone those drills and skills and abilities a little better. There are certain advantages, though, to using the small arms trainer. The digital system, again, because it has that electronic feedback and some additional highlights, it's all weather. It's a lot simpler to use. We don't need to be shipping ammunition around. There are some big advantages to it. But yeah, there is a range here, a live range here as well, that we make very good use of as well. The Trail Armory is an excellent facility. It's a wonderful location, not only very scenic, but has a fair bit of space. And it's a solid building. We've got a great fenced compound area out back. We have storage facilities here for equipment and different resources. We've got connectivity to our defense computer network system. We've got vaults. We've got a secure parking area. There's a lot here that's very useful. There's shower facilities. It's kind of all singing, all dancing. It's a great setup. But in addition to that, here in Trail, we have access to a demolition range, which allows us to work with explosives. And this is very close. It's in the Warfield area, minutes drive away from the armory here, which is very, very convenient. And we've also got access to a rifle range and a pistol range that we can use whenever we need it, essentially, which is very, very important for us as well, and very conveniently located. It's, again, just minutes drive away from the armory here. On top of that, it's also useful that there's a regional hospital here, because there is some risk involved in some of the work that we do. That's useful. We've got the Columbia River. As engineers, we do tend to work on the water a fair bit. Anything with small boats tends to be in our space. We bridge, we raft. That's very useful to us, and it is quite a river to contend with. So it is a challenging training environment. We've got lakes if we want something a little more calmer, and there's all kinds of crown land and very challenging terrain as well. So all in all, there is a lot to offer here for military training, for engineer training. You really have to look at what the Canadian Armed Forces does. So the Canadian Armed Forces takes people from all walks of life, and it trains them to complete very difficult tasks as part of a team in extremely challenging circumstances, and to do that with limited resources and under tight time constraints. And it does that extremely well. And this is what the Canadian Armed Forces has been doing for more than 100 years. And when I look at it, the organization here in Trail, the 44th Engineer Squadron, is a local link to a massive national system that does exactly that. And this system is very, very well resourced. And the first among those resources, the most important, is our people. Deep experience, long careers, they really, really know what they're doing. And those are the people that are instructing the members that come through the 44th Engineer Squadron. There's a lot of vehicles and equipment that go into that. There's some wonderful training facilities. There's training areas that we use. There's a lot that goes into the members that join the 44th. And if you think about it, we literally have to prepare them to handle the toughest situations that you can imagine. I mean, that's really the whole point. So if you go back through that history of the 44th Engineer Squadron, there are literally hundreds of members from the local community that have done exactly that. Now, what's different about the reserve force is where all of these skills are contained normally within the Canadian Armed Forces, reservists by default have some kind of a civilian career. They have some kind of a job or a business in the local community. So they're bringing those skills back to the area. And we definitely see that here in Trail. The current members of the squadron, you know, some are ski guides or ski patrollers. We have people that work at tech trail operations. We have small business owners here. We have people that work with security companies. We have someone who's a design engineer for a maritime equipment company. There's a paramedic, people working with sawmills and pulp and paper, government. And if you look at our former members, the list gets even larger. You know, we have someone who is the president of one of the a former member who's the president of one of the economic development boards, the senior manager for BC Transit in the area is one of our former members. The chair of the local branch of engineers and geoscientists of BC was a former member of the 44th. We have councillors with different municipalities. We've got contractors, consulting engineers, volunteer organizations, people involved with search and rescue. There's all kinds of people that are taking some of those skills that they've learned with the Canadian Forces, with the 44th, and applying them to various contexts out in the community. And that, again, that's something that we've been doing for more than 70 years.
For Captain Bart Fife, the location of the squadron and the recreational amenities were what brought him here and eventually settle, where he has a rewarding career at the regional district.
So with the geographic information systems, what we do is provide digital hard copy cartographic products that help the decision makers and the decision making process, and to help communicate some of the bylaws and like, for example, the OCP and the zoning bylaws that come out. Everything is location based, which fits excellent with GIS, as we can produce maps to help communicate what the planners are planning. Yeah. Yes, the majority of the maps that we design is through our GIS software. So cartographers like myself, or the GIS technician that works in the planning department here, we will support the planners with their needs. They will identify a need for, I need to map this area, or we need to communicate this. We'll take that, design maps around that, using data from a variety of different sources, stuff that we produce and create here ourselves. There's other data sources from the province and other areas, other users in the area, that we can all compile and collate together into the software here, and then we can produce whatever products that we need, be it a web-based map or a web-based map application, or hard copy maps, or just digital PDF files that can be used in some of the filing systems that we have here. My role in the squadron right now as second in command is to manage the administration, the personnel administration in the squadron. Help design and plan the squadron training based on the officer commanding's intent with where he wants to go, what skills he wants developed, and what we need to be able to accomplish. I take that direction from the OC, develop the training plan based on that, and then assist with the execution of that training plan. And then, like I mentioned there, the administration of the personnel is another major part of the job. So like the squadron quartermaster, I work with him quite often to help economize efforts and find efficiencies in the processes and make sure things are on board. Likewise with the squadron orderly room, I work with them a lot. Again, identifying efficiencies, economizing efforts, and just managing workflow to keep things humming along. The interesting part is that all the education that I've been able and lucky enough to achieve is coincided with things that happen in a combat engineer world, like forestry, for example, the laying out roads and cut blocks and things, the field surveying, being able to see the ground through an engineering lens of what we can build with and where we can put things, kind of idea. Same thing with the fish and wildlife, just being able to identify what you're looking at in the force. Huge for engineer reconnaissance. It's played right into developing my engineer reconnaissance skills, and vice versa, being able to have the training from the Canadian Forces School of Military Engineering. All of those engineer courses that went over those types of skills played directly into that kind of work. Where geomatics and the GIS fits in, mapping and cartography fit under the engineer cap badge in the Canadian Armed Forces. It's an engineer sub-trade, sub-specialty within the engineer corps. So being able to have, academic training, professional training at my workplace in geomatics just adds one more skill set to bring to the table on the military side, and vice versa, being able to have the planning, coordination, all the organizational skills, and taking those and, for example, applying them with my role in the Emergency Operations Center during a deployment is proven quite helpful, quite handy. It's the Kootenays. Like, what isn't there about this area? It's a fantastic place to live. When I first moved out here, within a few weeks, I knew it felt like home. Like, this is where the flag's going to be planted. While going to school, I met my beautiful wife, Corrine. She was studying nursing at the time at Selkirk College. And we've since decided to make a life together in the Kootenays. She moved from the Lower Mainland, Langley, to come out to study, and we met at the college there and fell in love. And yeah, like I said, both of us, just this area is fantastic. We've explored a lot of opportunities to move elsewhere or pursue different work, Lower Mainland, Calgary. We even explored some options overseas in New Zealand. We were looking at some options for work and stuff. But every time we got to that decision point, when you did weigh the pros and cons, the Kootenays always won. I mean, there's something fantastic about this area where it just has everything that we want.
Up next is retired Lieutenant Colonel Alan Morrow. He jumped at the chance to move to Trail, not only for an engineering position at Wood PLC, but for the Squadron base and, of course, the lifestyle.
I'm responsible for the budget, the schedule, the staff working on the project, making sure it's being delivered on time and on budget. Having the staff coordinate with the contractors to get the construction done, make sure the handover is going well with the commissioning team, those aspects. I was here for about 4 years, and then I moved away back to Edmonton in 1995, and then they were looking for a structural engineer at this office here, so I applied and decided I'd move back. They gave me the opportunity, either the Trail or the Vancouver office. At the time, the office was H.A. Simons, and I decided to come to the Trail because then I could transfer from the regular force to the reserves and come back and support both the reserve unit and the engineering office. Well, one, I like the smaller town. You could typically afford a house a lot better here than in the Lower Mainland, the Vancouver area. What this office had going for it, it had Tech Trail operations or Celgar. They're very, very close to the office, whereas typically a Vancouver office or a Calgary office, you don't have a client that has the facility, up the set of stairs from the engineering office.
Absolutely.
So that drew me actually here. And also I wanted to be somewhere close where a military unit was. And of course I was familiar with the engineer reserve unit here in town, so it was a perfect fit. A smaller town, we're close to the mountains, we have a ski hill close by, a lot of recreation opportunity. The kids can go to a school that they don't have to take a bus ride half an hour away. And typically the crime is a lot lower here. And what's really good about the community is, again, you have consultants here, you have clients like Tech and Celgar and the other clients, all within the same footprint.
Well, that's it for today's show. Thank you for joining us. If you want to learn more about Metal Tech Alley or how you can participate, please contact us at metaltechalley.com. Thank you.